today what I'd like to do is discuss some of the changes I've seen in the game since there's been a lot of development on it in the last little while, and touch on a few things that are new and worth figuring out. So let's start with getting through the process of making leather. Okay, you start with animal pelts. They come in a variety of colors and sizes and shapes. And you're going to need the hunting knife, which costs all of a single ingot of iron. Not a big deal. Here it is. At the regular workbench, you've got your tanning rack for 16 lumber. You have a few choices how it looks, but it makes something more or less like that. You then put the fur in your hand, and when you mouse over the rack, it'll throw it up there. You can hit right mouse button to place it. You put the hunting knife, it's called, in your hand, and just hold the left mouse button for 8 or 9 strokes of the knife, and you'll see patches of the fur start to disappear and turn more or less a leathery kind of color, and then he'll just stop abruptly in the middle of it. And when you pick it up, you'll get a notification on how many leather you got. Now, different furs are worth different amounts. I have discovered through extensive testing that fox pelts are worth 1. They're hardly worth the effort of hunting them down because they don't have bugger all for meat, and their pelt it's almost non-existent on the leather scale. Jaguars, tigers, boar, deer, pigs, they're all worth 2. So, I mean, these ones will come to you, these first 3. These ones you'll have to chase down, and pigs are pretty stupid right now. They're not terribly difficult to... Hi! They're not terribly difficult to collect. I'm going to turn the volume down on you. Loud, loud horse. There, let's do that. So, as I was saying, yeah, pigs are the easiest to collect, unless you count these ones that bring themselves to you, but, you got a little bit of a fight to take them down. In the giraffe pelt and cow section, we get 3. So, again, they're kind of hard to catch, but the cows are fairly easy to do. They just take a couple more whacks than pigs sometimes. And then at 4 pelts, or 4 leather per pelt, you've got black bears, brown bears, and moose. Now, if you can take a moose down with a headshot from a bow, is no big deal. I've one-shotted a couple of moose now with a bow. I'm getting sort of decent at it, but it's not a guaranteed thing. But if you can do it, that's the easiest pound for pound in terms of leather production. And you also get the antlers, which you can use for trophies. If you decide to go after an elephant, be warned, they have a fuck ton of health. They are extremely hard to kill, and they will stomp you through the ground until your body despawns. Ask me how I know. So they're worth 8 if you drop an elephant and claim its hide. I also tested rhino. Rhino are worth 8 as well. So in a grand scheme of things, you're probably best to go after things like pigs, cows, and moose, because they're relatively easy to kill, easy to find, and they're a little more rewarding than, something like foxes, and they don't put up as much fight as jaguars and boars and all that jazz. So, as you turn the pelts into leather, they will look like this. Leather stacks up to 16, and in order to make your very own suit of leather armor, which is 60 insulation temperature and 200 protection for damage, you'll need 4 stacks of leather and some other stuff, some iron rods. But yeah, you'll need 4 full stacks of leather to make 1 suit of armor. So it's not quick or easy. There is the addition of a loom, well, not the loom so much as the spinning wheel, to supplement the loom. At the spinning wheel, you can take things like wool or cotton fibers, and you put it in your active item spot, When you mouse over this part, just the bobbin at the end here, it'll turn into a wheel icon. And then you can hold the right mouse button, and it'll just spin it up. And it'll use 2 of whatever, whether, Jesus horse, be quiet. Whether it's cotton or wool, it'll use 2 units of it to make a bobbin of thread. So a stack of wool, you can stand here and make 32 thread. Once you've got a bunch of thread reels, you can take them over to the loom and easily convert them into cloth. There is no process, it just auto-converts them. So, here, we'll bring this down to 20. There we go. Okay, so you go over to the loom, and in order to make cloth, you just need thread reels. So, you can see it's easy peasy. And there's your wool turned into thread reels, which look like that right there. And then you can turn them into cloth pretty easy, and no big deal. At the loom, we have a lot of new options though. So you can use hemp leaves to make hemp fibers, and I believe you can take the hemp fibers over to the wheel and spin them up. These are hemp fibers. Let's find out while I'm thinking about it. I think you can spin them up. Yep, they're actually slower. They are noticeably slower to spin up than cotton or wool. So, keep that in mind. Hemp you can grow a bunch of, but you can also grow a bunch of cotton too, so you don't really have to suffer with dealing with, I think this is like 1/3 of the speed, or at most half. It's really slow. Might as well finish the last one off here. And we are done. Okay, so once you've got your thread reels and you've made cloth, you've got a lot of choices here that didn't used to exist. For your mount, you can make a horse saddle and saddlebags, donkey saddle and bags, camel saddle and bags, and they cost a little bit different. So for the horse, you need leather, lots of leather, a full stack of it, 8 rods and 4 cloth. For the donkey, it's the same, but for the camel, it changes a little bit. It's 4 leather and 16 cloth instead of the other way around. And you need less iron as well. So if you can find a camel, that's really the cheapest saddle to make. Oh, there you go yelling again. For the saddlebags, it likewise changes. Horse, 8 leather and 1 iron ingot worth of rods. Donkey needs a lot more leather, but it provides a big storage space. I haven't yet domesticated a donkey, so I don't know how much that is, but I'm guessing it's a full 4 tall instead of the horse's 2 tall. So like here, the horse has 2 rows of, I believe, 12. I think the big storage space on a donkey is probably going to be all 4 rows. And then there's camel, which is just cloth, unlike the other 2, which require leather and iron. The camel just requires cloth. It may be smaller still than the horse, like it may be a single row. I haven't found a camel in the game yet, so I can't verify that. You also have your tent, which is pretty standard fare since the last several years, so we'll skip over that. You have a variety of different shirts that you can create. They each have a different value for their insulation and protection. Protection is against damage, insulation against temperature. So at night or in the rain, if you've got enough insulation, you're less likely to get that temperature warning and start freezing. I went with a pullover, which you can't change the color of, so you're stuck with, you would call that hemp fiber yellow, roughly. So I went with just a pullover, but you've got high-vis jackets and all sorts of things. Military jackets that provide protection and insulation, bomber jacket, and so on. You get the idea. Shoes, you've got a variety of choices. I just built rag shoes because I had a couple of cloth. Everything else required stuff I didn't have at the time. So there's leather, 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 iron, Socks. I don't know if you can wear socks inside footwear. Let's find out, actually. Let's make some cloth. And we'll find out whether you can wear socks inside footwear. Because I happen to have my footwear right here. Alright, so there's my socks. Can I wear them instead of the armor? I'm guessing that's probably instead of the shoes as well. Yeah. So, not really a worthwhile trade for me. But, yeah, there you go. Socks and rag boots are interchangeable. They are not stackable. What else have we got in there? Yeah, there's sneakers and leather shoes, trekking shoes, military boots, and as you get to the more expensive stuff, some of it has some protection value and decent insulation. You also have pants. There's a variety of cloth and leather options. You can wear shorts, which provide a little less insulation, but otherwise it's mostly a stylistic choice. You can wear jeans, either tight or short. You can wear military pants, suit trousers. You can make costumes, so if you wanted to, you can make a hazmat suit, which gives you good insulation and some protection. Or a heat protection suit, which is good in the desert. So, you've got some ideas for things to play with. They mostly cost the same types of things, with the exception of hazmat, which requires a shit ton of gold and iron. Well, and everything, really. They mostly just cost cloth or leather. They're not super duper expensive, but there's some of them that have iron requirement in there. Your suits of armor. I mentioned the leather. The knight's armor requires a couple of stacks of iron plates. And Knight's Armor 2 is no different insulation or protection-wise. It's just a stylistic change. So the material stays the same, it's just a question of which model you'd like. I never got around to making this because I went from leather to the samurai armor I found in the underground dungeon that I raided the other day. Yeah, I'm getting to that. You also have head and face accessories, so you could put a riding helmet on with a little bit of leather, you get some protection and a little insulation. You can do fedoras and cowboy hats, you can do a wizard hat, you can do an ushanka, sombrero, and then there's your helmets to go with the armor. If you want visor up versus visor down, it costs you some insulation and protection. Or you can go with one that doesn't have a visor. You also have what looks like a bicycle helmet, or a bicycle helmet with a lamp, or a hard hat with a lamp, ballistic helmet, and so on. There's a lot of different ones in here. Some of them require paper, some of them are cloth, some of them require iron, so the prices vary, but they're generally not too pricey. There's not a whole lot of material required, so that was the update I wanted to do for today, and I wanted to add a couple of quick amendments to some of the videos I was watching of my old tutorials. Now, the escape key does pause by default, but that is a setting you can change. It's in here, pause game when pressing escape. So you can set it to be like it was in previous alpha versions, or you can leave it so that it pauses when you hit escape. I prefer to have a way to pause it because when the phone rings, I've got to answer it, so I can't pay attention to the bandits that are murdering my horse or undead thing that spawned in the dungeon while I'm crawling around. So that's changed a little bit. And there was a couple of changes with the smelter I wanted to touch on. I'm going to require some props for that. Oops. That's not the button I meant to hit. Let's grab some of this. Is this iron? Yeah? No, let's grab something we've got a full stack of. Okay, so we've got a full stack of, I think that's tungsten. If you just hold the right mouse button, you can load it a whole hell of a lot faster. You don't have to do individual clicks. You can just mouse back and forth until all the pockets are full. And you can get the ones that are behind easier, even though you've filled the front one. It's no longer impossible to target them. In previous version, I had a hell of a trouble with that, and I pointed it out in one of my videos, so that has been corrected, and it is so much easier to load. Once you've loaded the stuff in the smelter, it doesn't matter which size smelter you use. As far as I've found, the smelters all burn through the same amount of fuel per time unit. It's just a question of how long they burn to cook the ore. So you can put your coal in your hand, you open the door here, let's try, there it is. Okay, you open the door when it's this little square icon, hit F, and then while you've got the fuel in your hand, you right click and it'll populate the information about the current fuel level. To do both full racks like this, or both almost full racks, since I missed the last row, it takes 70 fuel roughly. So you put 2 pieces of coal in there and it's 80. So for 2 pieces of coal in the big furnace, you can cook up 60 pieces of ore, which is phenomenal. It's a huge, huge saving. And then, when it's all cooked up, which I'll show you in a wee bit, when it's all cooked up, you can just hold F and mouse over it, and it unloads it as fast as you move the mouse. It's fantastic. So, there is that. It's, you know, a couple of nice little changes with the furnace that I've noticed. Something else that I was playing with the other day, and I was really happy to see, when you go to create a thing, what have I got? Alright, let's grab those thread reels for a second. When you go to create a thing in any of the workbenches, instead of clicking individually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, whatever, you can just hold the plus sign and it'll go up and down as high or as low as you want. So you don't have to settle for doing min-max or manually clicking individual times. I don't think that is the way it used to be. I think you had to used to click individually over and over and over, and that was a bit tedious. So even if that didn't change, to me it seems new, and I'm really happy about that. And I am dying of thirst here. Let's eat a piece of watermelon. I've got a slice in here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you start taking damage when you get thirsty enough. I was down to 10, and that's where you start taking damage. So 2 bites of watermelon will bring you up 80 points. It's pretty good. I also would like to point out that the numbers showing up on here to tell you your exact status of things, that is new since my original tutorials. That won't appear in those old videos. So I'm pretty happy to see that. But anyway, I just wanted to throw up a quick update tutorial on some of the new stuff I've found. And real quick, to domesticate the horse, really easy. Make the saddle, walk over to the horse, put it on him. They don't run away. They don't require you to hop on and take it off. And, you know, oh, saddlebag is empty. Here. They don't require you to hop on the horse and fall off a bunch of times like you do in some games. So that is basically no different than a wild horse. They'll let you approach this close. You can come right up to them, and you just right click to place the saddle. Same thing with the saddlebag, and it is now a domestic creature. Just about as easy as it gets. So once I find a camel or a donkey, I'll domesticate them so I can update you on the pack size. But that's all I'm going to do for this quick tutorial. I'm going to be back to stream in a little bit, but it's the end of the video for the tutorial for now. Thanks for tuning in to Digital Disappointment. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe before you check out some of our other content.